Hello everyone, it's me Krissa and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be giving you guys about, I think it's 21 book recommendations for the month of May. So as you may know, May is Asian American / Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So With Cindy has an event that she hosts like every May, and she gives like 5 prompts. And basically you just find like a book or like 5 books, like however many you want to read, as long as they fit those prompts, and you just read the books basically, you know. So I wanted to like actually like give a few book recommendations because I have read a lot of books by like Asian authors in the past. So I just wanted to give you guys some like recommendations just in case you guys were going to be participating in the event as well. So this video is actually going to be split into 3 separate categories. I'm going to have like the adult book category, young adult category, and then middle grade category. So just take note that some of these books do kind of like toe the line when it comes to which category that they like belong in. So if I kind of couldn't decide if it was more like middle grade or young adult, I just put it in middle grade. Or if I couldn't decide if it was more adult or YA, I just put it in the YA category just to make things like easier, okay? So I'm going to try to keep it down to like a minute per book. So that's why some of the descriptions of the books I say is going to be like kind of short. But it's just so that you can kind of like get to know the book a little bit, especially if you've never heard of that book before, because I feel like some of these books I'm going to talk about aren't very like popular books. So first I'm going to start with the adult category, and the first book I'm going to be talking about is Diary of a Void. I'm going to be putting like the pictures here, and also I also made a note of like the ethnicity of the character and the ethnicity of the author, because one of the requirements or like the challenges of the like the Asian Readathon is that if you read more than 1 book for the challenge, it has to each book has to be like a different like ethnicity. So that's why I'm also gonna put like a picture of the book, and then like what ethnicity like the author is, and what the main character is. So in the first book, Diary of a Void, it follows a woman who works at an office that is like very male dominated. She's the only woman in the whole entire office. So a lot of the like jobs that nobody else wants to do, like cleaning up after meetings, like brewing the coffee, changing out the printer paper or the ink, like she's the one who always like finds herself doing that. So in order to kind of like get out of doing that extra work, she tells everyone that she's pregnant, okay? And like so now she suddenly has like more time to herself, and she like starts getting like the privileges that kind of come along with being pregnant, and she starts like enjoying that. So the reason why I like this book is because it is literary fiction, and as the book progresses, you see that the lie becomes like more and more of a part of Shubhata's life, and she kind of starts to see it as her truth, which I guess it really does become her truth like by the end of the book. So the next book, In Order to Live, is by Yeonmi Park. She was born and raised in North Korea and then escaped, and then she had like a period of like a few years where she went from like China to I think Mongolia to South Korea, and then finally to America where she lives now. This book is a memoir. So the reason why I like this book so much was because I got to learn a lot about Yeonmi Park's life, as well as just like the life of the average like North Korean citizen, because I feel like because of like the extreme measures they take, we don't really hear a lot from like the North Korean people. So it was just interesting to see like a glimpse into their everyday life. I will say that this book does touch on a lot of like sensitive topics. So if you may be like a sensitive reader, I will suggest that you check out like the content warnings. So Made in China, the next book, is actually a memoir as well. The author was born and raised in China until she was about 8, and then she followed her parents to the United States. And this one kind of tells like the average story of an immigrant child, or like a child of like immigrants. But like the thing that I liked most about this book was that I felt like her reaction to that life was a little bit differently, just because like it's not really a spoiler, but like just because she did like push back against like her parents' demands and expectations of her, which is something that you don't really see in like a lot of stories about like immigrants and like the children of immigrants as well. So that's why I really like this book. So the next book is White Ivy. So this is actually another book about like, for sure I know the author was born in China and then came to the United States after a few years. And I know that the main character in the book is Chinese American, but I don't know if she was born in China or not. Like, I don't know. But so basically she kind of grows up in like a poor like neighborhood, and there's two main guys in her life, and one is like her childhood friend who lived in the same neighborhood as hers, and then the other one is like this wealthy guy that like she wants to marry in order to escape that kind of life. So I really enjoyed this book just because it kind of got like a bit like gritty and dark at times, especially with how far she was willing to go to escape like the current life that she's living and to reach a higher economic status. Okay guys, so now we're gonna get into the young adult category. I only have like 4 books in the adult category because I've only recently started reading like more adult books. Like my whole entire life I've been like a YA girl, so this is the longest or the biggest category we're gonna have, just because I read like a lot of YA. Okay. So the next book on the list is Skunk Girl. So Skunk Girl is about a Pakistani American young girl in like, I want to say high school. So Skunk Girl is actually more of a character driven book instead of a plot driven book, so keep that in mind if you do decide to read the book, because mostly you're just following the main character as she tries to like navigate high school and like having a crush on a boy when technically she's not allowed to date, she's not allowed to go to parties. But the interesting thing about it is it's called Skunk Girl because she has like a long line of like hair going down like her spine basically, you know. And I just thought that was like kind of interesting because like sometimes women get like a lot of shit just because of like having like body hair, or like more body hair than like is considered appropriate, or like whatever, you know. So I just kind of like enjoyed like reading the book just because it kind of did touch on that topic, which I don't see a lot of books doing. So Shine is a book that I read just because Jessica Jung wrote it. Like, to be honest, I'm a big K-pop fan, especially of like the second generation groups, which obviously Jessica Jung was part of Girls' Generation. So that's why I read this book to start off with. I did read it a while ago, but it just follows this Korean American teenager who goes to South Korea to be a trainee because she wants to debut in a girl group. So this book just kind of like follows her in like, I want to say like the last 6 months or so of her trainee period, and like it's just her trying to avoid scandals but being really bad at that, and like trying not to fall in love with this guy so that she doesn't have a dating scandal, which she's pretty bad at, and kind of like navigating this like complicated relationships with like other like female trainees in the company that she's in. So it is like a lot of like drama, like I don't know, but there is like some sweet moments throughout the book, especially like between her and the love interest. So I think if you're into like K-pop and like contemporary romance and I don't know, just things that are like kind of like lighthearted, kind of like a quick, light, fun read. And there is a book too. Crooked Mark is a book that I just read like last month, so it's like really fresh in my mind, but I'm trying not to go in so much detail about it just because I don't want it to take forever. So it follows a main character named Matt, and him and his dad are a part of this organization that like look for the devil's mark in people. So basically the organization believes that like if somebody survives a near-death experience, that there was a chance that the devil could have touched their soul and made it so that whenever they came back to life or like just resumed their normal activities, that they will start doing bad things because now they've been marked by the devil. So sorry if you hear like any meowing, my cat just had like babies and like she's like going back and forth right now, so like they're all like meowing. Okay guys, sorry. So Matt and his dad are part of that organization that watches the survivors of those near-death experiences to see if they start to exhibit any of the bad qualities that come after like being touched by the devil basically. So the real conflict in the story is that like now that Matt's 17, they send him on his first solo mission, and he actually like goes to this high school and he has to like investigate this high school girl. But in doing that, he starts falling in love with her, and now he starts wondering if the organization is real or if it's fake, and if it's all just like a kind of a figment of his dad and this other guy's imagination, and if they just kind of created the idea of the organization to help them cope with their own loss. So that was like really like kind of fascinating. And the whole entire book has you guessing on if the organization is real or not. So The Weight of Our Sky is the next book that I'm recommending. The one thing I liked a lot about this book is me and the main character both have a lot in common whenever it comes to our OCD, and the way that we kind of internalize that, especially the way that like the way we see OCD can be like kind of influenced by our like religion or like our cultural like backgrounds. So I thought that was like I don't know, really interesting and relatable, and that's why I did give the book 5 stars. But I would definitely say that this is a book that you should like look up the content warnings for it, just because like some of the stuff in there is like pretty triggering. There's like a lot of like graphic violence in there because it does take place during like the race riots in Malaysia in like 1969 between the Malaysians and the Chinese. It is like a good book and I would recommend it, which is why it's on this list. But I would say that you should be like prepared whenever you go into it. If You Can See the Sun is a book that I read not too long ago, and I really enjoyed like the premise of the story in it. Like the main character suddenly goes like invisible, and so she decides to use her new like powers of invisibility to start like blackmailing the other students in the school that she goes to, because she needs money, because like suddenly like her parents are unable to pay her tuition because she goes to this like elite like Beijing like international school that costs like a lot of money like every semester, like every year. So since her parents can no longer pay for it, she decides that she's gonna start like blackmailing the like different people in order to like pay for it. So she kind of starts like an app which allows people to make like requests, and like she'll complete those requests in exchange for money. So like it was actually like really interesting to see that. And there is like an academic like rivals to lovers things with like her and the main male love interest. So I really like enjoyed that like aspect of it too. The only thing I didn't enjoy that much is just the fact that we never get like a lot of information about the whole entire like invisibility thing, and like how it started or why it started, and like if she's ever going to be able to really control it, or does it like go away. Like that's the only thing that I feel like the author never like truly answered for us. But other than that, it was a really solid book and I really enjoyed it a lot. Gorgeous Gruesome Faces is a book that I read back in January, and out of the 25 books I've read so far this year, like it's one of the old, like I've only given 5 stars to 2 books so far, and it was one of those books. So that's why I think that like whoever reads it will definitely enjoy it. So the book's a sapphic horror that does have like elements of K-pop in it, but the K-pop isn't the main like theme of the story. There's kind of like conflict between the main character and her friend, where like there are originally 3 girls and they were all like in this TV show together. And then because of the success of that TV show, they kind of started a music group that was like inspired by the TV show. But then some big scandal happened like a year or so ago, and like they all like the band kind of had to break up, and then one of the girls that was in the band actually ends up like dying. And it's kind of like a mysterious death, because like even though like we see the death, we know like how she died, there's just certain events surrounding her death that just don't make sense. The main character, Sunny, wants answers, and she's trying to get them from Candy because she knows that Candy knows what happened to Mina. And but now they've kind of like are not talking to each other, so she sees that the only way she could get a hold of Candy is to join the same K-pop like workshop that Candy announces that she's gonna go to, basically, you know. But in the workshop, things are not quite as they seem. Like there's like a whole ass like mystery going on. Like she starts seeing like the ghost of Mina, she starts seeing like rooms and doors that are not there, and there's just something really off about like the whole building and like the whole program itself. And like the whole time you're reading the book, you're like, I know something's going on, but I just don't really know what that is. But you do find out in the end, and like it's pretty crazy. Okay guys, it was like really unique. It was like something I never encountered before in a book, so that's why I liked it a lot and why I am like recommending it to you. So the book does like have time jumps to where like in each chapter it goes back and forth between the present and the past. but it does that so that it can help you understand more about like what happened, like, and part of like what the scandal was, and like you learn more about Candy, you learn more about the relationship between the three girls, and you learn more about how Mina died and how all that affects what's going on at this K-pop training workshop program thing. Okay, so Secret Keeper is a story that's like set in India, and it follows like our main character. She has an older sister, a mom, and a dad, but then the dad ends up losing his job and then goes to America to like get a new job, and he's like, okay, whenever I like get on my feet over there, basically I'll like send for you guys. But for the time being, they're staying with their grandma, the uncle, and the sister-in-law. So now there's like a lot of like conflict that kind of comes in with like so many people living under like a small like space, and then plus now like it is like a conservative Indian family, so that kind of like affects like the relationships that are going on inside the house and the way that the girls are allowed to interact with other people outside of the house. So our main character finds peace by going on the rooftop, but it is on the rooftop that she encounters her next door neighbor, like their son, because he also goes on the rooftop. But while she writes in her diary, he like paints. So they kind of start falling in love over the time that they spend together on the roof. But there's like a big twist at the end that I'm not gonna tell you guys, or I'm not gonna like spoil. But if that sounds interesting, go read the book and find out what the twist is. So Family is my second favorite book of all time. The only reason why it's not my number one is just because my number one favorite book is Into the Wild by Aaron Hunter, and I read that book when I was like 11 or 12, and I've read it like 15 times since, you know. So like there's like an element of like nostalgia that makes it like my number one favorite book. But like Family, I read it like I think for the first time in like 2020 maybe, so like it hasn't been that long, or I guess it has, but like maybe 2022, I don't know, but like anyways, but it is like my second favorite book, and it would be my number one favorite book if I had never read the Warrior Cat series. Okay, but I would be a different person if I didn't. I don't even know if I would be reading if I didn't read that series. But anyways, so Family, like it's kind of it's pretty intense, guys. Like I don't want to get too deep into it, but just know that it's not like a plot driven book, it is a character driven book, because like there's the Gao family, and it's like and it's set in like 1920s 1910s China. Okay, so keep that in mind. It is a bit dated, like but I think it being so old is part of its like part of its charm, because it does get to like reflect like the kind of the attitude of what was going on in China at the time, and how the people felt about it, and how they were trying to, I don't know, I feel like cope with it, because now there was a whole like conflict between traditional values and modern values, and there was like the whole like kind of spark of the new culture movement that was going on during that time. So like all the three main characters, well there's one main character, but there's three brothers that the book really like revolves around, and they're all like reacting in their own ways to this new culture movement, and they're all getting like affected by it in like three different ways. But like it's important because I think it just like reflects like the familial relationships in China, like during like the 1910s 1920s, and it just gives you like a different perspective to see like family like relationships through. And especially this is like kind of based off of the author's like real life, his real experiences, so it makes it an even like more like authentic look into like China's past. So that's why I really enjoyed it, and I think you might enjoy it too. Not a lot of people that were assigned it, because I was assigned it in class, and that's how I first found out about the book. But like not a lot of people like in the class liked it, but I really did. I actually have a video like on my channel like that like I did like my Chinese culture presentation on the book, and like the aspects of the book that like I kind of like talked about a little bit. So if you are interested in it, I do have that up like on my channel, like you can check it out. And then the Poppy War, so I don't think like a recommendation list will be complete without the Poppy War. I know it was published like back in 2019, so if you haven't read it, you've heard of it. So I think this is your sign to go read the book now. It is a grim dark fantasy, so there's gonna be like a lot of graphic violence going on, and I think you should check the content warnings just because it is kind of like dark and gritty and graphic, and it just has like a lot of stuff going on. But I think that like just the story itself is just honestly amazing, and I think you should like read it just for the story. Like me personally, I read it right after I took my China Revolution class, so that's why I think I enjoyed it so much more, because I was able to see all the things I've just learned about on the page, and the way that like it kind of inspired the book, and the way that those elements of China's history like kind of interacted with like the fantasy elements. So I just like really enjoyed that book a lot, and I think that you might enjoy it as well if you haven't already read it. So another book I'm going to mention is called The Ghost Bride. So this book is actually very interesting because it taught me about an aspect of like Chinese culture or like Asian culture that I'd never known about before, and that was like ghost marriages. And so like in the story, the girl basically gets entered into like a ghost marriage with one of her like neighbors like dying sons. And basically the concept of like a ghost marriage is done because they think that it will bring like peace to the spirit, or sometimes if the guy is dying, like him getting married might give his spirit or like his body the push it needs to recover, you know. So that's kind of like the purpose of like these ghost marriages. So like they actually end up marrying her to the guy, but she kind of has to go on this whole long journey and try to basically I don't want to spoil it too much. I don't know if this is going to be a spoiler, but she kind of enters a realm between life and death, and she has to do something in order to stay alive. That's all I'm going to say. So next we're talking about our middle grade books. So a few of these can kind of go into both middle grade and YA categories, but some of them I see as more like middle grade, even if it is like for 8th graders. Like that's why I kind of have them all like in this category. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Rickshaw Girl. So this character, she's actually I think like 10 or 12 years old, but she lives in like a poor village in like Bangladesh, and she's trying to like help financially support her parents, but it is difficult because she is a girl. So she tries to disguise herself like as a boy in order to like kind of utilize her like artistic abilities, but she kind of goes on this like long journey. So American Born Chinese is actually a graphic novel, and at first like it's kind of split into like 3 separate stories, but by the end of the book you'll kind of see how and why they were kind of split up into 3 different stories, and you'll find out like how they interact with one another. I really enjoyed the book a lot. So Zachary Inc. and the Dragon Warrior was one of my favorite books of last year. I did include it in one of my like tier ranking videos, so if you watch that you'll be able to like see me talking about it in like more detail, because I don't want to really get into it. But basically it follows this like Chinese American boy on this journey to save his mother because she gets kidnapped, but he is also the descendant of the first emperor of China, which is Shen Shi Huang. And like the whole entire book is like very interesting. You learn so much about Chinese history and mythology and like the different like legends like that kind of like are part of China's history. And like actually the author has a YouTube channel that I could like put a picture of somewhere here, where they talk about like different aspects of Chinese culture and Chinese history, and also like dissect different like films that talk about like I know they dissected like Mulan 1 and 2 and the 2020 version, and so they just do a lot of like videos that have to do with China. So A Step from Heaven, it's I put it under middle grade, but it is kind of hard to categorize because the book starts when the main character is 4 and then ends when they are like 18 or 20. And maybe it is like a bit more like YA, but I feel like you could read it in 8th grade and it's not like an issue. But like basically it's just kind of the main character's struggle with assimilating into like the United States culture. because of like obviously they're born in Korea, like they have like Korean parents, so there's like the whole like conflict of being like Korean but also being American at the same time. And then also at the same time, she's also experiencing like well, her parents have like an abusive relationship, so there's domestic violence in her house that she also has to like learn to cope with, and kind of learning how to like just kind of accept herself for who she is. And then Border Town is another book that I enjoyed, but I will say that it's more character driven rather than being like plot driven. So the book actually follows a main character. I think she's like 15 years old. Her name's like Tue, I think. And like so she's turning like 15, and it's just her and her grandpa, and they live in a small like rural Chinese village. I can't really tell the actual date that the novel is set in, but it is set anywhere from the 1900 to 1950s rural China. And I read it because I read it like after I got into like Chinese history and culture. And I had like just taken my I had just taken my China Revolution class and learned a lot about like communism and about like its start and how it kind of got the boost it needed from the Chinese countryside. So to be honest, not a lot happens in the book. Like you're mostly there for the vibes, or at least like I was. Last but not least is The Legend of the Condor Hero series. I really love this series. So there's actually 4 books in the series. I've only read the first 3. And I want to read the last one. I put this one here just because it is kind of like a kung fu story. And so all the characters, like the whole entire time, it's kung fu fighting, like straight up kung fu fighting or training to kung fu fight, okay? And like it follows our main character, Guo Jing, and he's like it starts like before he was born, but then like the most of the book happens when he's about like 15 or so, you know. And I did put it under middle grade because like the author had like originally intended it for Chinese youth, so that's why a lot of it is focused on morality and on trying to like teach a lesson about like right and wrong. And that's why like sometimes the book can seem like very simplistic, like the way it looks at like the world and the way the characters are set up. Like as a character in the book, you're either bad or you're good, you know. There's no in between. There's no morally gray characters. So that's what I think I enjoyed about this book, just because it's like in all of like YA, all the books I've been reading like lately, there's always like these morally gray characters. And sometimes it's nice to read something that is a bit more lighthearted and a more like clear. And like there's like, yeah, a lot of kung fu fighting, but nothing like very graphic is going on. So that's all I have for you guys today. That was like I think like 20 or 21 books, but I just wanted to give you guys some recommendations just because like I'm going into this challenge, and like it kind of took me a while to pick the books that I wanted to read for each of the prompts, because I'm doing 1 book per prompt just because like I want to read more. So I don't know, I thought I would just give you guys like some recommendations and see if there's anything that you guys might be interested in reading, just because I kind of had like read a lot. So I don't know, that's it. This is actually gonna be my first year participating in the Asian Readathon, so I'm very excited. I'll be happy if you guys will like join me. I'm gonna be posting like a video whenever I do finish it of like my reading vlog, and also I'm gonna be doing a 30 books in 30 days challenge while I'm doing this, just because I want to read like a lot of books by Asian authors during this month. So just stay tuned to my channel if you're interested in that, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.